Security. We have another one trying to sneak in. The hostess at Le Bernardin doesn't whisper. Her voice cuts across the dining room like a blade. Every head turns toward Maya Jenkins, 19, black, clutching a job application in trembling hands. The hostess stands, pointing directly at Maya's worn sneakers. Her perfectly manicured finger makes small circular motions, as if showcasing a specimen. "Sweetie, the staff bathrooms you're looking for? They're in the basement, through the kitchen, past the dumpsters." Nervous laughter ripples through nearby tables. A woman in pearls covers her mouth, eyes wide with secondhand embarrassment. Maya's application crinkles as her grip tightens. The words, ASL interpreter position, blur through sudden tears. "I'm here about the job posting." "Oh, honey." The hostess's laugh is sharp, theatrical. "This isn't charity work." The entire restaurant holds its breath. Have you ever been humiliated so publicly that strangers became your jury? Maya's face burns as she turns toward the exit. Her sneakers squeak against marble with each hurried step. The whispers follow her like smoke. But near the window, something stops her cold. A man sits alone at the corner table, sunlight streaming across his navy suit. His hands move in sharp, frustrated gestures. His face shows the kind of desperation that transcends language. James Wellington is 68, silver-haired, wearing a watch that costs more than most people's cars. But right now, he looks utterly helpless. A waiter hovers nearby, notepad trembling in his hands. "Sir, I really need to know your wine preference for the meeting. Your guests will arrive any moment." James's hands dance through the air. His fingers spell out letters, form shapes, paint pictures that the waiter cannot read. His mouth moves silently, forming words that will never be heard. The waiter's eyes darted around the dining room, seeking rescue. "I'm sorry, sir. I don't understand. Should I get the manager?" James pulls out his phone, types frantically. He shows the screen to the waiter. The waiter squints, reading aloud. "Need interpreter for business meeting. Severe garlic allergy. Must discuss the wine list." "Oh." The waiter blinks. "We don't have anyone who speaks that." James's frustration boils over. His hands move faster now, more urgently. Other diners begin to stare. Someone snickers. A woman leans toward her companion, whispering behind her menu. The hostess notices the commotion. She approaches with the same practiced smile she gave Maya. "Is there a problem here?" James types again, shows his phone. The hostess reads, her smile faltering. "Sign language. Sir, this is a fine dining establishment. We don't typically accommodate—" She trails off, unsure how to finish that sentence politely. Maya takes a step forward, then another. Her heart pounds. Every instinct screams at her to leave, to escape this place that has already humiliated her once. But James's hands are still moving, still searching for someone, anyone, who might understand. Maya thinks of Devon, her little brother, trapped in silence while the world talks around him. She knows exactly how that feels. "Excuse me," Maya says softly. Maya's voice cuts through the tension like a warm blade. "Excuse me?" Every head turns. The hostess's eyebrows arch in disbelief. The waiter freezes mid-gesture. James Wellington looks up from his phone, hope flickering in his tired eyes. Maya steps forward, her worn sneakers suddenly silent on the marble. Her hands rise slowly, gracefully, like a conductor preparing an orchestra. She signs with fluid precision. "Good afternoon. I apologize for the confusion. How may I help you?" The transformation is instant. James's entire body relaxes. His face breaks into the first genuine smile anyone has seen from him all day. "You sign beautifully," he responds, his hands dancing with renewed energy. "Where did you learn?" Maya's fingers spell out her reply while she speaks aloud for the watching crowd. "My younger brother is deaf. I've been signing since I was 7. The waiter's mouth falls open. The hostess takes an involuntary step backward. "He's asking about your wine selection," Maya tells the waiter, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. "He has a severe garlic allergy and needs to know which wines pair with dishes that won't trigger his condition." "Oh!" The waiter scrambles for his wine list. Of course. Let me get our sommelier immediately. James signs rapidly, his movements urgent but controlled. Mr. Wellington is here for a business meeting with the restaurant owner, Maya translates, her hands keeping perfect pace with his thoughts. He'd like to review sustainable seafood options and discuss a potential partnership. The waiter's demeanor shifts like a switch being flipped. His spine straightens, his voice drops to respectful tones. Mr. Wellington? Yes, sir. Ms. Torres has been expecting you. Let me get her right away. He practically sprints toward the kitchen. James turns back to Maya, signing with what can only be described as relief. You translate not just my words, but my meaning. That's rare. Before Maya can respond, Michelle Torres emerges from the kitchen. She's 40, professional, wearing chef's whites with the confidence of someone who has earned every star on her reviews. Mr. Wellington, I'm so sorry for the confusion. We weren't prepared for... She stops, noticing Maya for the first time. And you are? Maya, she says simply. I'm helping with interpretation. James's hands move in complex patterns, and Maya's voice follows like a shadow. Mr. Wellington says his foundation has allocated $12 million this quarter for partnerships with restaurants committed to ocean conservation. He's evaluating Le Bernardin as a potential flagship partner. Michelle's professional composure cracks. Her eyes widened. 12 million? Maya continues translating James's rapid signing. He'd like to know your current waste reduction percentages, your supply chain transparency protocols, and whether you'd be interested in a pilot program that could serve as a model for sustainable dining nationwide. The silence that follows is profound. Michelle stares at Maya as if seeing her for the first time. The hostess has gone pale. Other diners lean forward in their chairs, straining to catch every word. Your interpretation is incredibly precise, Michelle says slowly. Are you a professional interpreter? Maya shakes her head. No, ma'am, I learned from my brother. James signs something that makes Maya smile. A real smile, not the nervous half grin she's worn all day. Mr. Wellington says I have natural talent combined with genuine care. He says that's a rare combination. Michelle nods, still stunned. Could you ask Mr. Wellington if he'd like to tour our sustainability facilities? We've reduced food waste by 40% this year. As Maya translates, her confidence grows with each gesture. Her hands move with increasing fluency. Her voice gains strength. She realizes something profound. For the first time in her life, she's not just surviving a conversation. She's conducting it. The hostess watches from across the room, her face a mask of dawning horror. She clutches her reservation book like a life preserver. James signs to Maya. In 10 minutes, you've accomplished what 3 previous interpreters couldn't in 3 hours. You don't just speak our language, you understand our world. Maya's heart swells, but she has no idea that in the next few minutes, her entire life will change forever. Because James Wellington is about to make her an offer that will transform everything she thought she knew about her own worth. Maya's fingers pause mid-sign as memories flood back. The weight of James's words, "You understand our world," carries her to a place 12 years ago. She was 7, sitting in a sterile hospital room that smelled of antiseptic and fear. Devon lay in the narrow bed, so small he barely made a dent in the white sheets. Machines beeped softly around him like electronic lullabies. The hearing loss is profound and permanent, the doctor had said, his voice careful and clinical. You'll need to consider communication options, sign language, cochlear implants, specialized education programs. Maya's mother cried quietly in the plastic chair. Her father stood frozen by the window, staring at nothing. But 7-year-old Maya climbed onto the bed beside her baby brother. She touched his tiny hand, felt his fingers curl around hers. I want to learn with him, she announced to the room full of adults. They tried to explain that it wasn't necessary, that there were professionals for this, that she was just a child herself. Maya didn't care. While her classmates learned multiplication tables, Maya learned fingerspelling. While they played video games, she practiced facial expressions that could change entire meanings. While they complained about homework, she interpreted at parent-teacher conferences, doctor appointments, and family dinners. Devon became her shadow. She became his voice. Every joke he signed, she spoke aloud so others could laugh with him, not at him. Every question he had about the world, she made sure got answered. Every dream he shared in silent gestures, she helped make real. "You know," Devon had signed to her just last week, "sometimes I think you understand me better than I understand myself." Maya had laughed, but his words stuck, because loving Devon had taught her that communication wasn't just about words. It was about seeing the person behind the language, feeling their thoughts, carrying their hopes. She never imagined that skill would matter to anyone beyond her family. Now, standing in this gleaming restaurant, watching James Wellington's face light up with each perfectly translated phrase, Maya realizes something profound. Love had made her fluent. But fluency, it turns out, could change the world. Her phone buzzes. A text from Devon. "How's the interview going? You've got this." Maya smiles, signing, "I love you," to the empty air. Some conversations, she's learned, don't need words at all. Maya facilitates the conversation between James and Michelle with growing confidence. Her hands dance between languages while her voice bridges two worlds. "Our sustainability program has reduced food waste by 40%, Michelle explains, "but we'd love to expand our impact." Maya's fingers translate precisely. She's proud of their progress but hungry for more meaningful change. James nods, signing his response. Maya says, "Mr. Wellington asks what your biggest obstacle is in reaching zero waste." Honestly, customer education. People don't realize how their dining choices impact ocean ecosystems. Suddenly, James's phone erupts with urgent buzzing. His face shifts from interested to deeply concerned as he reads the screen. He signs rapidly to Maya, his movements sharp with urgency. "Mr. Wellington needs to take this call," Maya translates. "It's about a time-sensitive environmental crisis in the Pacific Northwest. He's asking if you could continue this discussion with his foundation's regional director who's joining by video." Michelle's eyebrows rise. "Of course, whatever's needed." Within minutes, Michelle has her laptop set up. The screen flickers to life, revealing Sarah Lane, a woman in her 40s wearing a field jacket. Behind her, Maya can see the chaos of an emergency command center. Sarah immediately begins signing, her movements urgent and technical. Maya realizes with a jolt that she's now the sole communication link between three parties. James in person, Sarah on screen, and Michelle and the restaurant staff around the table. "Maya," Sarah signs from the screen, "we have a potential oil contamination situation. 17 restaurants in our network need to halt all Pacific salmon orders within the next 4 hours. Maya turns to Michelle. "There's a potential contamination issue with Pacific salmon suppliers. The Foundation needs all partner restaurants to suspend those orders immediately as a precaution." Michelle's face pales. "How serious is this?" James signs to Maya while Sarah continues gesturing on screen. Maya finds herself translating simultaneously for both conversations. "Mr. Wellington wants to know your current Pacific salmon inventory," she tells Michelle, then turns to the screen. "The restaurant needs to understand the severity level for customer safety protocols." Chef Laurent emerges from the kitchen, drawn by the commotion. "We have about 200 pounds scheduled for tonight's service. What's the contamination risk?" Maya translates for both James and Sarah, her hands moving in fluid patterns between the live conversation and the video screen. Sarah signs rapidly. "Tell them this is precautionary but critical. The Foundation will compensate any financial losses from suspended orders." "The Foundation will cover all costs from the halted salmon orders," Maya relays to Michelle. "This is about preventing a potential health crisis." Michelle stares at Maya in amazement. "You're managing 3 different conversations simultaneously. Are you certain you're not a professional interpreter?" James signs his response with what looks like pride. "She's better than most professionals I've worked with. Natural intuition combined with genuine care." For the next 30 minutes, Maya orchestrates an intricate dance of emergency communication. She coordinates inventory reports, compensation agreements, supplier notifications, and safety protocols. Her hands never stop moving. Her voice never wavers. Her mind processes technical terminology, emotional subtext, and logistical details with remarkable precision. When the crisis protocols are finally established, the restaurant falls silent. Chef Laurent shakes his head in wonder. "In 15 years of restaurant management, I've never seen crisis coordination handled so smoothly." Sarah signs from the screen. Maya, you've just helped prevent a potential environmental disaster affecting 3 coastal communities. James looks at Maya with something that transcends professional respect. But Maya has no idea that her biggest test still lies ahead, because in 24 hours, she'll face a crisis that will determine not just her future, but the environmental safety of an entire ecosystem. The emergency coordination has barely ended when heavy footsteps echo across the marble floor. David Morrison approaches with the authority of someone accustomed to being the most important person in any room. He's 50-something, wearing a suit that costs more than Maya's semester tuition. His eyes scan the scene with obvious irritation. Michelle, what's all this commotion? His voice carries the sharp edge of someone whose afternoon has been disrupted. We have dinner service preparation to consider. David, meet Maya, Michelle says carefully. She's been helping us navigate an urgent environmental situation with Mr. Wellington. David's gaze slides over Maya like she's furniture. His assessment is swift and dismissive. The college student? He doesn't bother addressing Maya directly. Michelle, we cannot have random individuals handling sensitive business matters. What if she misinterprets something critical? Our reputation is at stake. James watches this exchange with growing concern, his hands forming questions that Maya hesitates to translate. What did the manager say? James signs. Maya's confidence, so strong moments before, begins to waver. He's concerned about my qualifications. David steps closer, his voice taking on the patronizing tone reserved for children and service workers. Look, miss, I'm sure you mean well, but this is Le Bernardin. We maintain relationships with Fortune 500 companies and international dignitaries. We need certified professionals, not good intentions and wishful thinking. Maya's hands slow in their signing. Self-doubt creeps into her voice. Maybe he's right. I don't have any official credentials. Before the conversation can continue, the restaurant door swings open with theatrical timing. Patricia Williams strides in wearing the confident smile of someone who has never been questioned. She's 45, carrying a leather briefcase that screams professional competence. A certification badge gleams from her blazer lapel like a badge of honor. I apologize for the delay, Patricia announces to the room. Traffic was impossible. I'm Patricia Williams, certified ASL interpreter from Premier Language Services. David's relief is visible and immediate. Perfect. Thank you for coming, Ms. Williams. Now we can handle this situation properly. Patricia extends her hand to Maya with professional courtesy that somehow feels like dismissal. Thank you for helping out, dear, but I'll take over from here. Business interpretation requires professional certification and liability insurance. Maya steps back automatically, feeling herself shrink back into invisibility. James watches this power shift with a mounting alarm. James signs directly to Patricia. What's your experience with environmental crisis management? Patricia's hands move with textbook precision, but her signs lack the fluid naturalness that made Maya's translation feel effortless. I have 15 years of general business interpretation experience, Gallaudet University trained. James continues signing. Can you handle technical terminology for bioaccumulation protocols in marine contamination scenarios? Patricia pauses, her confident expression flickering. Could you repeat that more slowly? The technical terms require careful consideration. From the laptop screen, Sarah observes this exchange with growing impatience. Sarah signs rapidly. We're losing critical response time. I need immediate confirmation on mercury testing protocols for affected seafood supplies. Patricia's hands stumble over the complex scientific vocabulary. I'm sorry, could you clarify the specific terminology regarding the testing procedures? Maya steps forward instinctively. She's asking about mercury bioaccumulation testing protocols for contaminated seafood. The difference is stark and immediate. Patricia's interpretation was mechanical. Maya's was intuitive. James signs firmly to Maya. Credentials matter, but lives matter more. In crisis situations, accuracy trumps certificates. David crosses his arms. We should stick with the certified professional. It's about liability and proper procedures. Maya stands at the crossroads between self-doubt and self-advocacy. The room waits for her decision. Will she step back into the shadows or trust that her gift is worth more than the paper on someone else's wall? Maya takes a deep breath that seems to draw strength from somewhere she didn't know existed. Patricia, she says, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. I'd be happy to work together. I can brief you on the specific environmental terminology we've been using, and you can verify accuracy. Patricia's professional mask softens slightly. That's actually very reasonable. What happens next transforms the entire dynamic. Instead of competition, collaboration emerges. Maya demonstrates complex environmental signs while Patricia validates and learns, creating a bridge between experience and expertise. Maya, your technical vocabulary is remarkable, Patricia admits after watching Maya effortlessly translate a series of scientific terms. Where did you learn marine biology, ASL? Online courses, environmental documentaries, and honestly? Maya smiles. My brother Devin is obsessed with marine biology. I've been interpreting nature documentaries for him since he was 8. James signs to both interpreters. Sarah needs simultaneous updates from 3 coastal regions. Maya, handle Pacific Northwest coordination. Patricia, take Northern California. The screen splits into multiple video calls. Maya and Patricia work side by side, their hands moving in synchronized interpretation across different crisis zones. Maya's call connects to a field coordinator standing on a windswept beach, testing equipment scattered around him. Maya, we've got preliminary results from water samples, the coordinator reports, wind whipping through his words. Contamination levels are technically within federal safety limits, but we're seeing unusual biomarker patterns in shellfish populations. Maya translates to James and Sarah. Contamination meets federal standards, but shellfish show abnormal biomarker responses. This suggests sub-threshold but potentially cumulative effects on the ecosystem. James signs urgently. Ask about recovery timeline projections. Mr. Wellington wants to know your projected timeline for complete ecosystem restoration, Maya relays. If we implement immediate remediation, it will take 6 to 8 months. If we wait for standard federal protocols, possibly 2 to 3 years with permanent damage risk. Maya translates James's decisive response. Mr. Wellington authorizes immediate remediation funding. The foundation will invest in prevention, not just meet minimum requirements. The results are immediate and measurable. Within 2 hours of Maya's coordination, Michelle cancels all potentially affected seafood orders, preventing customer exposure. The foundation commits an additional $2.3 million for extended cleanup operations. 3 coastal communities receive employment through emergency remediation efforts. Long-term ecosystem damage is prevented through proactive intervention. Patricia approaches Maya during a brief break, her earlier skepticism replaced by genuine respect. I've been interpreting for 15 years, she says quietly. I've never seen someone handle technical emergency coordination like this. You have a genuine gift. Maya's response reveals the heart of her approach. I think about how Devin would want to understand every detail. Precision matters when it's something you care about. The transformation extends beyond just Maya. David Morrison approaches with visible humility, his earlier arrogance replaced by recognition. Miss Jenkins, I owe you a sincere apology. I allowed my assumptions to cloud my professional judgment. Thank you, Mr. Morrison. I understand the importance of professional standards. Would you consider a position here? We clearly need someone with your specialized skills for our international clientele. Maya has traveled an impossible distance in just 3 hours, from dismissed job applicant to essential crisis coordinator. James signs to Maya with unmistakable pride. You've prevented environmental disaster and established a new model for inclusive crisis communication. How does this feel? Maya signs back, her movements confident and sure. Like I finally understand what I'm supposed to do with this gift. But Maya doesn't realize that her journey has only just begun. Because James Wellington is about to make her an offer that will change not just her life, but her understanding of what her talents can accomplish in the world. During a quiet moment between crisis calls, James gestures for Maya to join him at a corner table away from the bustling coordination efforts. The afternoon light has softened, casting golden shadows across the restaurant. For the first time in hours, the urgency has paused, replaced by something more profound. Maya, James signs, his movements deliberate and thoughtful. In 30 years of building businesses and foundations, I've rarely encountered someone with your combination of skill and integrity. May I ask something personal? Maya nods, her hands ready to respond. What are you studying in college? Pre-law, Maya signs back. I want to become a disability rights attorney. Help people like Devon access equal opportunities in education and employment. James pauses, studying her face with the intensity of someone making a life-changing decision. And you're working to pay for school? Maya's response carries the weight of countless late nights and stretched budgets. Student loans, part-time jobs, scholarship applications. It's challenging, but Devon deserves to see that dreams are possible. James leans forward, his next signs carrying the gravity of a formal proposal. Maya, I want to offer you a position. Director of Accessibility Communications for the Wellington Foundation. You'd coordinate with deaf and hard-of-hearing stakeholders worldwide, ensuring our environmental initiatives truly include every community. Maya's hands freeze mid-sign, her eyes widening with disbelief. I don't have experience with international coordination or... Experience can be taught, James interrupts gently. What you demonstrated today, intuitive communication, crisis management under pressure, genuine care for accuracy, these qualities define who you are. They cannot be learned from textbooks. He outlines the offer with careful precision. The salary covers your remaining education costs plus living expenses, part-time during school, full-time summers. After graduation, if you still want law school, the foundation will fund your legal education completely. Maya's hands tremble as she signs. Why me? Patricia has decades of professional experience. James's response reveals the depth of his observation. Because when Patricia struggled with technical terminology, you stepped forward to help her succeed, not to prove her inadequate. Because you think about Devon when you interpret, which means you consider the human being behind every conversation. Sarah joins them via the laptop screen, her timing perfect for validation. Maya, I've monitored your interpretation for 6 hours straight. Most professional interpreters require 20-minute breaks to maintain accuracy. You sustained precision for 6 hours without a single significant error. James continues. The deaf and hard-of-hearing community needs advocates who understand both worlds completely. You're not just an interpreter, Maya. You're a bridge builder between communities that need each other. Maya signs slowly, emotion evident in every gesture. I need to discuss this with my family. This would transform everything. Of course. Take whatever time you need. James removes a small silver pin from his lapel, the foundation's symbol featuring interlocking waves and trees. This represents our commitment to environmental stewardship through inclusive community engagement. I want you to have it, regardless of your decision. You've earned it. Maya accepts the pin with reverent hands. I never imagined my skills could create such meaningful change. Today you didn't just help me communicate, James signs with profound sincerity. You showed me that accessibility isn't accommodation. It's an opportunity to include perspectives that make everything better. Maya realizes her journey has come full circle, from learning sign language to help Devon, to using that love-born skill to help heal the world. The restaurant has quieted now, late afternoon sunlight streaming through tall windows in golden streams. Maya and James sit in a corner booth, the crisis temporarily resolved, the world momentarily still. Maya's fingers trace the foundation pin James gave her, feeling its weight, both physical and symbolic. Before I give you an answer, Maya signs, may I ask you something personal? James nods with the openness of someone who has learned to trust. When did you lose your hearing? James pauses, his hands still for a long moment. When he begins signing, his movements carry the weight of memory. I was born hearing. Built my first company while I could still hear board meetings and phone calls. I lost it gradually to a genetic condition. Started in my 20s, complete by 40. Maya's hands form a gentle question. That must have been incredibly isolating. It was devastating, James admits. The hardest part wasn't the silence. It was watching people's assumptions change the moment they realized I was deaf. Board meetings became exercises in proving my competence over and over again. His next signs reveal something deeper. Do you know why I really started the Environmental Foundation? Maya shakes her head. to demonstrate that deaf perspectives aren't limitations. They're advantages. When you can't rely on sound, you notice visual patterns others miss. Environmental changes, ecosystem rhythms, the subtle communications in nature that hearing people overlook completely. Understanding dawns in Maya's eyes, like how Devin notices things I miss because he experiences the world through different senses. Exactly, James signs with growing excitement. Your brother's deafness didn't create barriers, it created enhanced awareness, and you developed complementary skills to amplify his insights. Maya's hands hesitate before forming her next confession. I've always felt guilty about being heard when Devin isn't. Like I had advantages he was denied. James's response transforms everything. Maya, you didn't receive advantages. You received opportunities to build bridges. Every time you interpreted for Devin, you weren't speaking for him. You were amplifying his voice so others could access his brilliance. Tears gather in Maya's eyes, but they're tears of recognition, not sadness. I never thought of it that way. Today, you amplified my voice to prevent an environmental crisis. You amplified coastal communities' needs for protection. Bridge building is leadership, Maya, one of the most essential forms. Maya leans forward, her hands forming the question that will change everything. What would I actually do in this position, day to day? Ensure our environmental solutions include deaf and hard-of-hearing communities from the planning stage, not as afterthoughts. Help us understand how environmental changes affect people who experience the world primarily through sight and touch. Make our solutions work for everyone. Maya's hands move with growing confidence. I want to accept your offer. Two people who had felt invisible found each other when visibility mattered most. 1 week later, Maya stands in the glass-walled conference room of Wellington Foundation headquarters, 40 floors above Manhattan. The foundation pin gleams on her new blazer as she surveys the chaos of multiple screens, urgent voices, and flashing emergency alerts. This is no practice session. A Category 5 environmental disaster has struck, an oil tanker collision near the Olympic Coast Marine Sanctuary. The Foundation's largest coordinated response operation ever needed, and Maya stands at the center of it all. Board Chair Margaret Stone addresses the room with military precision. We have contamination affecting 200 square miles of protected marine habitat. Maya, we need real-time interpretation for simultaneous communications across 12 different stakeholder groups. Are you ready? Maya pins her foundation badge securely and nods. Yes, ma'am. The communication web is staggering in its complexity. 12 hearing board members occupy the conference table. 4 deaf environmental scientists join virtually from field locations across 3 time zones. 3 hearing field coordinators connect via satellite phones from the disaster site. Government liaisons, 1 deaf, 1 hearing, participate from Washington, D.C. international partners from Norway, Japan, Canada, Iceland, and New Zealand await coordination through various video platforms. Maya positions herself at the room's center, surrounded by screens showing windswept beaches, laboratory facilities, and government offices. Dr. Martinez, the Foundation's lead marine biologist, appears on screen wearing a field jacket splattered with seawater. His signing is rapid and urgent. Immediate assessment confirms contamination affecting 3 endangered species breeding grounds, Maya translates. Gray whale calving areas, sea otter recovery zones, and salmon spawning streams. Emergency wildlife rescue operations must launch within 8 hours or mortality rates will become catastrophic. Simultaneously, the federal coordinator's voice crackles through satellite connection. EPA requires complete environmental impact statements for each proposed intervention method before approving emergency protocols. Maya coordinates between both streams. Dr. Martinez reports that every hour of delay increases wildlife mortality by approximately 12%. Federal oversight requires documentation, but can emergency protocols override standard procedures given the timeline? The Norwegian environmental minister joins via video link, her interpreter explaining, Norway can deploy specialized cleanup vessels within 6 hours, but requires legal liability frameworks before committing resources. Maya translates for the board while maintaining sign language conversation with Dr. Martinez. Legal frameworks are being established. Mr. Wellington authorizes up to $50 million in emergency insurance coverage for international assistance. Then, the crisis escalates exponentially. Weather conditions worsen, creating communication breakdowns. Static interrupts satellite connections. Internet bandwidth becomes unstable under emergency load. "Maya, we're losing connection intermittently," the field coordinator's voice cuts through static. "Need you to relay critical GPS coordinates to incoming Norwegian vessels." Dr. Martinez signs frantically from his deteriorating video feed. Wildlife rescue team found 47 oil-covered marine mammals. Immediate rehabilitation is required, but the nearest facility is 300 miles away. The government liaison interrupts. Helicopter transport requires additional permits due to protected airspace restrictions over the sanctuary. Maya orchestrates solutions across multiple crisis streams simultaneously. "Can Norwegian vessels serve as floating rehabilitation platforms?" she asks the minister while signing coordinates to Dr. Martinez. Foundation provides all veterinary equipment and certified staff. If Foundation supplies certified wildlife transport specialists, can we expedite airspace permits for emergency medical evacuation? She queries the government while translating facility requirements for the Norwegians. "Norwegian conversion to floating hospitals feasible within 6 hours, she relays to Dr. Martinez. "Helicopter permits approved with certified specialists. Do you have emergency marine mammal veterinarians on standby?" Then disaster strikes the communication system itself. The building's internet connection fails completely. Video feeds go black. Maya loses connection with all deaf team members during the most critical coordination phase. "We can't afford communication delays," Margaret Stone declares. "Should we proceed without the deaf team members' input?" Maya's response is immediate and firm. "No, ma'am. Dr. Martinez has irreplaceable expertise with this specific ecosystem. Give me 2 minutes." What Maya does next demonstrates crisis leadership at its highest level. She uses her personal phone to establish individual text conversations with each deaf team member. She maintains complex multi-party coordination by simultaneously translating written responses into spoken updates for the board while managing logistics across 6 different languages and 3 emergency protocols. Dr. Martinez texts, "Oil drift pattern targeting underwater kelp forests. Contamination reaching kelp beds extends ecosystem recovery from 3 to 5 years to 15 to 20 years. Priority shift is essential." Maya addresses the entire room. "Critical update from Dr. Martinez. Oil is moving toward ancient kelp forests. If contamination reaches those beds, we're looking at 15 to 20 years for ecosystem recovery instead of 3 to 5. This completely changes our strategic priorities." James signs from across the room. "What's your recommendation?" This is Maya's leadership moment. She's no longer just interpreting, she's synthesizing expert input into actionable strategy. "I recommend prioritizing kelp forest protection over immediate wildlife rescue. Dr. Martinez can coordinate temporary marine mammal care using Norwegian floating platforms while our primary resources create barriers around the kelp beds." Margaret Stone leans forward. "That's a significant strategic decision affecting millions in resources. Are you confident in this recommendation?" Dr. Martinez is the ecosystem expert, but without proper interpretation, his critical analysis gets lost. Based on his technical assessment and available resources, this approach saves both immediate wildlife and long-term environmental health. For the next 4 hours, Maya orchestrates the largest environmental crisis response in Foundation history. Her coordination results in measurable success. Kelp forest contamination prevented through rapid barrier deployment. 45 of 47 oil-covered marine mammals successfully rescued using Norwegian floating rehabilitation platforms. International cooperation protocols established for future multicultural crisis response. Communication frameworks developed ensuring deaf expertise inclusion in all emergency planning. After 8 hours of continuous interpretation, Maya's accuracy never wavers. "Maya," Margaret Stone observes, "you've been interpreting technical emergency coordination for 8 hours straight. How do you maintain this precision?" Maya's response reveals the heart of everything. "Because every word I translate affects living creatures and entire ecosystems. I think about Devon understanding every detail of something he passionately cares about. That's the standard I hold myself to." James signs with unmistakable pride. "You didn't just interpret today. You led a multinational crisis response operation. Maya signs back with quiet confidence. I made sure every voice was heard when it mattered most. In 8 hours, Maya had evolved from dismissed job applicant to international crisis leader, not because she was the most experienced person in the room, but because she was the most committed to ensuring every perspective was valued and heard. 3 months later, the Natural History Museum in New York transforms into a cathedral of recognition. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over 300 guests, environmental leaders, government officials, deaf community advocates, and international media representatives. Maya enters through the main doors wearing a navy evening dress that actually fits properly for the first time in her life. The foundation pin catches the light on her shoulder, no longer a symbol of hope, but of achievement earned. She walks beside James with confidence that would have been unimaginable 6 months ago. Her posture is straight, her smile genuine, her presence commanding respect from everyone she passes. A reporter approaches with practiced enthusiasm. Mr. Wellington, your foundation's crisis response success rate has increased dramatically this year. What's your secret? James responds through Maya's fluid interpretation. Success comes from understanding that environmental protection requires every community's perspective, especially voices that have been historically excluded from these conversations. The ceremony host takes the podium as guests settle into their seats. An audience that includes both hearing and deaf attendees in complete integration, professional interpreters stationed throughout the space. Tonight's keynote address will be delivered by James Wellington, founder of the Wellington Environmental Foundation, with interpretation by Maya Jenkins, the foundation's director of accessibility communications. Maya steps to her position beside James, no longer nervous but purposeful. This is her element now. James begins his speech through Maya's interpretation. 6 months ago, I entered a restaurant expecting a routine business lunch. Instead, I encountered someone who would revolutionize how our foundation approaches environmental protection globally. Cameras focus on Maya as murmurs of interest ripple through the audience. Maya Jenkins taught me that accessibility isn't accommodation, it's unlocking hidden expertise. When we include deaf and hard-of-hearing perspectives in environmental planning, we discover solutions that benefit entire ecosystems. Maya continues translating as James presents the data that validates everything. Since implementing inclusive communication protocols, our project success rate has increased 34%. Crisis response time has improved 50%. Most importantly, our environmental solutions now serve 100% of affected communities, not just those who communicate through traditional channels. The standing ovation begins in the deaf community section, a wave of signed applause that spreads throughout the entire auditorium like visual music. Maya, would you please step forward? Maya approaches center stage, visible emotion balanced with professional composure. James signs and speaks simultaneously. The board of directors has voted unanimously to establish the Maya Jenkins Fellowship for Accessibility Innovation, full scholarships for deaf and hard-of-hearing students pursuing environmental science degrees at any university worldwide. The audience erupts. Maya's eyes fill with tears she doesn't try to hide. Maya takes the microphone, signing and speaking to address the entire room. 6 months ago, someone told me I wasn't qualified to work in a restaurant. Tonight, I want to discuss the qualifications that actually matter. Her message resonates with personal truth. My brother Devin taught me that different doesn't mean less capable. It means bringing unique perspectives that solve problems others can't see. The deaf community has observed environmental changes through visual and tactile awareness for generations. We just needed bridges to translate those observations into action. The surprise she's prepared creates the evening's most powerful moment. I want to introduce the person who made all of this possible, my brother, Devin Jenkins. Devin walks onto the stage wearing a sharp suit, signing with the confidence of someone who has never doubted his worth. At 14, he carries himself like the young leader he's becoming. Devin signs while Maya interprets. My sister always said she learned sign language for me, but I think I was born deaf so she could discover her superpower of helping different worlds understand each other. The emotional peak is undeniable. Audience members openly weep, moved by the profound bond between siblings who transformed personal love into global change. Board Chair Margaret Stone approaches with the Foundation's highest honor. Maya, the Environmental Bridge Builder Award, recognizes individuals who create lasting connections between communities and conservation. The Crystal Award is shaped like interlocking hands, engraved with text in both English and Braille, a perfect symbol of universal access. Maya accepts the award with reverence. This belongs to every person who has felt invisible, unheard, or underestimated. Your perspectives aren't barriers to overcome, they're solutions waiting to be discovered. The media impact is immediate and global. A live television reporter addresses viewers. This is Channel 7 News at the Wellington Foundation Awards, witnessing what many call a paradigm shift in environmental activism, placing accessibility and inclusion at the center of conservation efforts. Social media explodes with real-time posts. Hashtags trend worldwide. Hashtag bridge builder. Hashtag accessibility first. Hashtag environmental inclusion. An international delegate approaches Maya. Ms. Jenkins, the United Nations Environment Program invites you to address our Global Climate Summit about inclusive environmental planning. Maya's response demonstrates how completely she has grown into her role. I'm honored, but only if full accessibility accommodations are fundamental to the planning process, not afterthoughts. Every attendee deserves equal access to participate and contribute. The evening's full-circle moment comes through a video message from Le Bernardin. The restaurant now displays a Wellington Foundation Sustainability Partner plaque and features permanent ASL interpretation during all service hours. The same hostess who dismissed Maya 6 months ago speaks to the camera with genuine humility. We learned that assumptions about people's capabilities can blind us to extraordinary talent. Maya transformed our understanding. Accessibility isn't a requirement, it's an opportunity to serve everyone better. Impact statistics scroll across screens throughout the venue. 23 environmental crises coordinated through inclusive communication protocols. $127 million in environmental protection funding allocated. Over 300 deaf and hard-of-hearing community members employed in environmental roles. 68 restaurants implementing combined sustainability and accessibility programs. 18 universities developing inclusive environmental science curricula. James addresses the audience for the ceremony's climax. Maya once asked why I chose her over certified professionals. Tonight I want to show you exactly why. A video presentation begins. 3 months of Maya's work condensed into powerful moments. Maya coordinating with scientists in remote Arctic locations, interpreting complex climate data for international policymakers, leading community meetings in coastal towns, training other interpreters in specialized environmental ASL vocabulary. The standing ovation that follows is thunderous, sustained, and universal. Government officials, environmental leaders, and advocates rise together. The visual is stunning, deaf community members creating waves of signed applause that ripple throughout the crowd like ocean currents. Maya looks out at the audience, then signs to Devon. "We did it, little brother." Devon signs back with a grin that lights up his entire face. "You did it, Maya. You helped the whole world learn our language." The transformation is complete. 6 months ago, Maya was dismissed as unqualified for a restaurant job. Tonight, she stands as an internationally recognized environmental leader whose work bridges communities and saves ecosystems. But more than that, she has proven that the most powerful qualification isn't a certificate on the wall, it's the courage to build bridges between worlds that desperately need each other. 6 months later, Maya walks across the stage at Columbia University, her cap and gown flowing in the spring breeze. The foundation pin gleams on her graduation stole as she accepts her diploma, summa cum laude, double major in environmental science and disability studies. Devon cheers from the audience, his hands forming enthusiastic applause. Their parents beam with pride they never imagined possible. James and the foundation team occupy an entire row, witnessing the completion of an extraordinary journey. Back at their family's modest apartment in Queens, Maya spreads her Harvard Law School acceptance letter across the kitchen table where she once struggled with homework while learning sign language. "Harvard Law?" Devon signs, his excitement infectious. "Maya, you're going to change everything." "We're going to change everything," Maya signs back. "Your perspective taught me that different viewpoints aren't obstacles, they're opportunities waiting to be discovered." The sisters return to Le Bernardin for lunch, but this restaurant has transformed completely. 3 deaf staff members work alongside hearing colleagues. Professional ASL interpretation is available during all service hours. The accessibility modifications have increased customer satisfaction to record levels. Michelle Torres greets them warmly. Maya, you helped us understand that accessibility brings new customers and creates better experiences for everyone. Our reviews mention the inclusive atmosphere more than the Michelin stars. When you include everyone in the conversation, Maya responds, you discover solutions you never knew existed. The global impact continues expanding in ways Maya never anticipated. At the UN Climate Summit, she addresses world leaders with full ASL interpretation integrated into every session. University environmental science programs now require basic ASL coursework. Coastal communities employ deaf and hard-of-hearing residents as specialized environmental monitoring experts. Corporate boardrooms implement inclusive communication protocols as standard practice. But the most meaningful change happens in smaller, quieter moments. Devin now leads a youth environmental group where deaf and hearing teenagers collaborate on marine conservation projects. His confidence radiates as he addresses the mixed group of students. Every perspective matters, Devin signs while Maya interprets. Because nature speaks in many languages, we just have to learn to listen with more than our ears. Maya turns directly toward the camera, her voice carrying the weight of experience and the lightness of hope. Maybe you're watching this thinking about someone in your life who communicates differently, thinks differently, or experiences the world differently than you do. The foundation pin catches light as she leans forward with intimate directness. I want you to ask yourself, what if their different perspective isn't something to work around, but something to learn from? What if their unique way of seeing the world holds the solution to a problem you haven't been able to solve? Her call to action is specific and achievable. Here's what you can do today. Notice the people around you who might be overlooked or underestimated. Ask yourself what they might see that you're missing. Listen, really listen, to perspectives that challenge your assumptions. James joins Maya on screen, their partnership now representing something larger than individual success. The Wellington Foundation is launching the Bridge Builder Initiative nationwide, James explains through Maya's interpretation. We're identifying and developing overlooked talents in environmental conservation. We're looking for the next Maya Jenkins. Maya's smile carries both humility and determination. But here's the truth. There are thousands of Maya Jenkins already out there. They're waiting tables, stocking shelves, sitting in classrooms, working jobs that don't reflect their full potential. They just need someone to see their value. Her final challenge resonates with personal conviction. Your assignment, if you choose to accept it, is simple. Look past the surface. When you meet someone who seems different, ask yourself what they might teach you instead of what they might lack. The promise she makes carries the weight of lived experience. I promise you this. When you start building bridges instead of walls, when you start seeing differences as strengths instead of obstacles, you don't just change other people's lives. You discover capabilities in yourself you never knew existed. The final scene shows Maya and Devin walking together along a beach where they once dreamed of impossible futures. They sign to each other as waves crash in the background, their conversation a private symphony of hands and hearts. Maya's voiceover delivers the closing line as the camera pulls back to reveal the vast, endless ocean. The most beautiful conversations happen when different worlds learn to speak the same language of respect. Share this story if it reminds you to see potential in unexpected places. Subscribe for more stories of hidden talents changing the world. The end credits carry one final message. Inspired by countless individuals who transform limitations into superpowers every day. Maya's journey from dismissed job applicant to global environmental leader proves that the most powerful qualification isn't written on paper. It's written in the courage to build bridges.
At Black Voices Uncut, we don't polish away the pain or water down the message. We tell it like it is because the truth deserves nothing less. If today's story spoke to you, click like, join the conversation in the comments, and subscribe so you'll be here for the next Uncut Voice.